Nice location, huh? All right. Got my ring light on the hood of the car. I'm going the extra mile for you. Now, tonight's report is about the state of what's going on at a high level with the dope game with the Cartel, because it's quite interesting. So, last year was a record year for seizures. The United States government seized 250,000 bricks of the yams. Some million pounds of, no, not a million pounds. Thousands of pounds of fetty. They brag particularly about, there was a seizure in, Albuquerque. They seized like 2 million of the, the little the counterfeit blue joints at once. But here's the thing. If you're not involved in that world or study it, I mean, even some of you guys who might be hustling or something, you know how cheap those are. Like in LA, you can get 20,000 of them for like 9 bands. Or you could, maybe it went up a little. So 1 million of them, 2 million of them is like 1.7 million of them is $1 million. Okay, they're in Colorado, maybe they're $3 million. It's not that, it's really nothing in the scheme of things. It just sounds good. So, Trump's enforcement of deporting illegal aliens has, of course, taken away manpower from the border. Now, illegal immigration is way down, but so is, some of the manpower at the border. And there's stuff with drones going on. So there was just something happened the other day where they had to shut down the El Paso airport. Trump's administration claimed it was because of incursions of drones from people in Mexico. But I think it was that the U.S. wanted to do some Trump's administration wanted to do some weird shit and have some laser shooting down drones. But it's El Paso's a city. There's planes in the commercial planes in the sky. So the whole El Paso airport was grounded. El Paso's across from Ciudad Juarez. I mean, it's a big sprawling metro area between those two cities, so that's a substantial place. And ironically, just as a quick aside, El Paso is the city with the highest percentage of Hispanic population in the United States. I think it's over 90%. It's also, now, some wild Cartel stuff pops off in El Paso from time to time, but it's one of the lowest violent crime cities in the country. Mexican Americans are generally, they're the new Italians. They're generally family people. There's not a lot of, even in Skid Row here in LA, they're underrepresented because they usually have such a strong family structure. Even the bums in the family, someone does something with them. There just happens to be, same thing with Jamaicans. Jamaicans are low crime people, except there used to be something called posses. Mexican Americans are low crime people, except for where there's a few areas there's street gangs and the people from Mexico. And the people from Mexico, half of them be from the United States anyway. So anyways, so what's interesting is going on at a high level. Of course, we know about the war between La Chapiza and La Maíza, the remnants, well, Chazapo's 2 sons, and who's ever left is down with them, and El Mayito Flaco, one of Mayo's sons. Maíza's was winning, but CJNG, El Mencho, has done an alliance with Chapiza, but Mencho is a brilliant tactician. He has enough firepower that he could send enough that they could dominate probably La Maíza, but he sends just enough so the war doesn't end. Because what he probably wants is for them to decimate each other to the point where he can just slide in. Now, what is he getting in trade, or not he, the whole organization, because there's a lot of people making money in these groups, and there's people that have a lot of autonomy at the local level. So thinking of it as being one guy's operation is just not correct. So he, in exchange for their manpower that they've sent, what he's getting in return is, and this is what Chapo fought a war for all when the murder rate went up in the 2010s in Juarez and Tijuana. Chapo was fighting for control of the routes. So there's tunnels, there's special, hey, that long border, there's, someone found, hey, there's a little area, there's a cave you go in and you come out on the U.S. side. There's a tunnel, control of corrupt border guards. The passages from right on the Mexican side to right on the U.S. side is what's worth all the money. Anybody, I could fly down to Colombia and wander around and find somebody to sell me some bricks for $2,500. The question is, how you gonna get them onto the U.S. side? So he's been given, or CJNG has been given access to what Chapo fought for. Think about the wire. Remember when, this is exactly the same thing at a bigger scale. The Dominican supplier in New York cut off Avon, and there's some people semi-wandering around it. This is an interesting, cool area. It's right next to the Soho House, my private membership club. This is not a bad area, but this is just like, it's like a warehouse district. I guess this is where whatever people that are doing whatever come hide back here. Blah, 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 blah. What was I saying? Oh, so the access to the routes is what's so valuable. So Chapo and them fought for that, and they halfway got it in Tijuana. They got a lot of it in Tijuana and got a lot of it in Juarez, and that's why Sinaloa and Chapo was so powerful for that period of time, because he had the routes over the border. And if you wanted to run stuff through, different cartels pay each other. Like CJNG was paying probably Sinaloa people to move stuff at certain times. Now, there's also boats to bring. There's a lot going on. Everything's not going through one route. But those underground tunnels right at the border are the most valuable thing. And that was Chapo's, one of his big breakthroughs, that he built all these tunnels. So I'm sure that his sons still have some. But they've given CJNG access to that in exchange for the manpower, which is just enough to keep them going. He never made, so Chapo's sons, especially the video, the two that are in custody, totally pretty much made their whole operation Fetty Wap, because the economics of Fetty, for $800 in precursor chemicals off the boat from China, per $800 they would invest, it's estimated they could make 800,000 doses. So if they're selling them wholesale for 40 cents, it's $400,000. Now there's costs, you gotta pay the people that mix it up and machines and blah, blah, blah. But when you're talking about, what is that? It's a 500 to 1 or something return. You can have all sorts of other costs and take losses. It doesn't matter. So that's why they went all in on the Fetty, because it was so easy. And now but Mencho and CJNG and them were doing that, but they were sticking with, Mencho's son just got life, no parole, by the way, which is, if you think it's all fun and games, he stuck with the Yayo. So Colombia has been producing bumper crap. Like, there's more of that than ever. A lot of it's going to Europe and other parts of the world than the U.S., but the more things change, the more they stay the same. I mean, like, we invaded Panama and arrested Noriega in '89, and Pablo was killed in 91 or 2 or something. the lowest prices for Yayo adjusted for inflation ever were in 1994 until the last year. They're now the lowest they've ever been. I've heard streets of LA, you can get one for 13. Remember, 13 now is like 6,500 in 1994 because of inflation, right? $50 bill back then will buy you what 100 buys you now. So cocaine damn near like. Remember when the highest end weed was like 3,500 a pound, so that's like 7,500 a kilo. I mean, yeah, like Yayo. Well, reefer prices have collapsed, obviously, but you know, there's not that much of a price difference, or there wasn't until the reefer prices collapsed. So, anyways, CJNG never stopped with the Yayo. That's the single biggest revenue generator. The profit margin isn't like the Fetty, but it's not getting the attention. My sources on the street tell me, like, people is back, they're smoking Krizak, and lots of people doing Pizzouter. And now there's so many Mexican Americans in the country that there's, it's not like stuff coming from Colombia where there's this magical plug. A lot of people are like a half-ass plug. Lots of guys, no Mexicans. Look at Future's play brother, whatever, he got caught copping. Like, he was copping directly from it. There's Mexicans floating around and they got stuff. And here's the thing, though. If you get some bricks of the Sizzoft, they're going to give you, here, take this Fetty, take some Mizef. They pushing it on you because that stuff's all profit. And that's what they're really into. They would love to sell more and more of that. But Mencho is racking up the dollars off of, now he has Chapo's old routes, thanks to his sons needing help underground. He's flooding. It's cheaper than ever. And they're making lots of money. Seizures are at an all-time high because the amount coming in is at an all-time high. That's all that ever means. And now, one really good thing, and this is from the U.S. pressure on them about Fetty, which obviously probably a lot of you, we all probably know somebody. Even regular people know someone, like people that are not into drugs or any of that. Everyone knows somebody that OD'd in the last 5 years, damn near. I mean, it's like, I think since 2018, what's that, like 8 years? You're talking about 600,000 Americans OD'd, and the majority of them was almost, were opiate involved, in Fetty specifically. So the pressure on them these last year or two, the seizure amounts aren't that impressive, like I said, but the average purity of Pizzills and Pizzouter of the Fazzetti is like half of what it was. So I think powder went from being 20% to 10%. It's coming overcut. Remember when it first came out, and I think they was giving people like the actual thing, and like people were killing people with it, these idiot neighborhood chemists. Someone was telling me they knew of a street in the city that made a lot of money, and then some other guys kind of took over because the people left. And these idiots cooked, this was years ago, this is when the Fazzetti first came out, they cooked it into like Krizak, and like 3 people on the block died. Like people that, there's those people in the hood that have been smoking that shit since they came out, and they're fine, Unc Eddie will run to the store for you, and he nurses 3 or 4 stones a day. Well, 3 Uncle Eddies died on that block, and then the person that did that popped up unalive himself. But anywho, so thanks to the war between Maisa Chapisa, CJNG, has the access to flood the United States with the Yizams, NAR. Mencho's building up his war chest. Mencho is alive. There was a rumor he's not alive. But, U.S. is always taking people into custody, and people that are accountants or people that many people have had to see, maybe not many, but they've taken multiple people into custody that have been with Mencho in the last couple years, like higher ranking operatives. But the security you got to get to go to him, there's landmines for miles around. He has you do rings of security, so you have 50 miles away from where he's at. It's just probably a lot of everyone is a shopkeeper, a police officer. They just want to look out for anyone out of place. Then as you get closer, there's maybe some sicarios floating around. Then you get into within some miles of them. It's all landmined, and nobody has the map but them, obviously. And then supposedly, now this sounds kind of crazy, but no reason to disbelieve multiple people that debriefed to the U.S. government. He has a special guard around him that all have rocket launchers. Like, that's what his personal guard is like, walking around with rocket launchers. So if they try to swoop in with like how they got Maduro, or how they got a video where they swoop in, U.S. Special, well, they call it the Mexican Army, but it's U.S. Delta Force or SEALs, comes in them helicopters. If you got 50 guys with rocket launchers floating around, everybody gonna die. And Mencho might not get away, but Mencho's not going into custody. That's my prediction. He may get killed. He ain't going into custody. And he's deep in the wilderness. He does have kidney problems. Supposedly built his own hospital. Hard to know what his health is, but he's alive. And they're racking up the money from the yams. Drones, listen to this. So here's an update. In the last, whatever the period of time they measured, the last 18 months or something, just in the Rio Grande Valley, which is the Rio Grande River separates Texas and Mexico at part of the border. So that's just that part of the border. That's not even Arizona or California. 10,000 drone incursions. Now, are they all just the big C dropping stuff? Probably not, but some of them are. And that's why these, Mizeth is so cheap and bulky, but that's why the big C in the Fetty is, because smaller. They have drones that can carry up 100 bricks at a time. Even if you're selling them 10,000 wholesale, that's $1 million. So you send 50 drones, you get 50 million wholesale. If half of them get shot down, they're still making money, right? So drone war in the sky between the U.S. government and the Big C. They're using drones to attack each other on the ground. Maisa and Chapisa slowly draining each other of manpower. Mencho sending just enough help to the remnants of Chapo's people to keep it going. At some point, he's already kind of taken over their routes or using them. They're not gonna have the strength to take them back. He's gonna probably, their CJNG system, whether it's Mencho's alive or who's really running it, is gonna swallow the remnants of Sinaloa, especially with the two brothers of video and them. They're in custody, obviously, trying to give up as much information, as much money as they can to make it the best deal that they can. So that's why there's more and more people being brought into custody. 18 members of Chapo in the video and them's families crossed the border. I say that in every video, but it's just important to always remember that they all are entering into the protection of the U.S. government. So they're telling it all. Which, I mean, if you get brought into custody and they're blaming you for 500,000 ODs, you better think of something good, or you're gonna be in Florence ADX, and you ain't gonna get to hang with your dad in the day room. You're gonna get to look at a gray wall. And them guys ain't old. The video's what, 34? How'd you like to do that for 40 years? So that's what's going on. Again, the typical, what it's always been. They make it, there's these news stories about these villainous foreigners. And they are. I mean, they'll mention these are bad people. The video goes, you're sending in Fetty Wap. You know what it's doing. But it doesn't matter. Those dummies, the people that we know who get arrested, like these people that go on trial, these are the dummies. They're not even, these are the people that want to be famous and they take the fall. You read through all these indictments, where are the Mexican lawyers and bankers and politicians? A handful. I mean, they do indict some here and there, but not that many. The architects of the trade, I would imagine, are living in Spain, are living in Italy. They're business people, or they're living in Mexico City. They're business people, they're politicians. Those people whose face we know, whose name we know, they're just the frontline soldiers. And even the people we think of as being the bosses, they're allowed to think they are, and they are in their world until they use up their usefulness, and then suddenly they're in custody. Think about that. But not Mencho. His son Menchito, though, just got sentenced to under life no parole. So is he gonna try to work? He don't seem like the type. His son's been in custody 7 years. I don't think he's trying to work no deal with the U.S. government, but who knows? It's good that the amount of Fetty and the stuff that's being sold is less. Deaths are down. They were down. Trump has gutted treatment funding and other stuff so much that it's hard to get that data. OD data takes a while to come in from the states to the federal government. So there's anecdotal that it went down in 2024 and the beginning of 2025, but that it may have started going back up because of but we'll see. We'll see. I think the rate of it going down is slowed, and it could drop. Remember, even when ODs went from in 05 or something, there were 7,000 OD deaths in America. There's cities that have had that in the last few years. Went up to 115,000 in 1 year. It went up 18 times or something. So it could drop in half and still be super elevated compared to historical average. It could drop by 2/3 and be super elevated. And now there's a lot more. It's funny, when I was young, and think back when you were, depending on what age you are, I mean, I wasn't really hanging out with drug addicts when I was 10, but it seemed like people were either crackheads or they were on the ron, and I guess some were using both. But now it's there's so many substances. What are you on today? There's many choices. I don't know. It seems like I'm not. Drugs change your brain. Even antidepressants. I think there's too many people on antidepressants. This is a real dilemma. But frankly, the idea that the illegal hard drug issue just keeps growing. And it's more now between the Fetty and the Mizeth. Like Yayo is the new reefer. It's no big deal. Oh, he just snorts. No big deal. It's it compared to that, everything's relative. So now they've made that seem tame in comparison to, people twitching on the sidewalk from shards or, dying from a $4 pizzle smoked off a tinfoil. So that's what's going on. Record seizures, but record availability, record low prices. Drones are in the game. By cutting deals and destroying Sinaloa, they're disempowering an even more violent paramilitaristic group, CJNG. And my next prediction is they're gonna start finding labs in either Canada or the U.S. where they'll just have the precursors come into the U.S. or Canada and just make it here or there. Why? Because a lot now precursors come into the U.S. Sometimes they come into Canada, but a lot come into the U.S. They smuggle them over to Mexico. They turn it into what they turn it into, and then they bring it back. Why bother? So that's the state of affairs, news you can use. As remember, always use the drugs. Don't let the drugs use you. Out profit American dope.